After 400 years of slavery, the long-awaited day had finally come. God's people were leaving Egypt. Thousands of families stepped forward in faith, carrying everything they owned, while Moses led them toward the unknown. Before them stretched a new beginning, and above them the Lord himself would guide the way. The Lord did not leave his people alone. During the day, a magnificent pillar of cloud appeared before them, guiding every step of their journey through the wilderness. Whenever the cloud moved, the people followed. It was a constant reminder that God was with them, watching over them every moment. As the Israelites continued their journey, they walked with confidence behind the pillar of cloud. Families traveled together with their children, while shepherds guided their flocks across the desert. Moses walked at the front, faithfully following God's direction. Every step brought them farther from slavery and closer to the future God had prepared for them. When night fell across the wilderness, the pillar of cloud became a brilliant pillar of fire. Its warm light filled the darkness, allowing the Israelites to travel safely through the night. Around their campfires, families rested in peace, knowing the Lord himself was guarding them. The darkness could not overcome the light of God's presence. Eventually, the Israelites arrived beside the Red Sea. The calm waters stretched endlessly before them, while majestic mountains surrounded the shoreline. They set up their camp, unaware that a great test of faith was about to begin. The people rested peacefully, trusting that the Lord would continue to lead them. Back in Egypt, Pharaoh began to regret his decision. His heart became hard once again. He realized that he had let the Israelites leave, and he was determined to bring them back. In anger, he called for his officials and prepared to chase after God's people with the full strength of Egypt's army. Pharaoh ordered his finest soldiers to prepare for battle. 600 of Egypt's best chariots were made ready, along with horses, commanders, and countless warriors. Filled with pride and determination, Pharaoh believed nothing could stop his powerful army from capturing the Israelites. Soon, the mighty Egyptian army thundered across the desert. Horses galloped at full speed as bronze chariots raced over the sand, raising enormous clouds of dust into the sky. The soldiers were confident that they would quickly overtake the Israelites and force them back into slavery. The chase continued across the wilderness. The sound of pounding horses echoed through the desert, while the great army moved closer with every passing moment. Pharaoh believed victory was certain, but he did not yet understand that the Lord was fighting for his people. Meanwhile, the Israelites continued their peaceful journey. Children laughed together, shepherds cared for their animals, and families encouraged one another along the way. Moses remained calm as he followed the pillar of cloud, trusting completely in God's guidance. Suddenly, someone looked toward the horizon. In the distance, a massive cloud of dust rose into the sky. As it grew larger, the people realized it was not a sandstorm. Pharaoh's army was coming. Fear quickly spread through the camp as everyone understood the danger. The Israelites looked ahead and saw the waters of the Red Sea stretching before them. Behind them, Pharaoh's mighty army drew ever closer. There was no visible escape. They seemed trapped between the sea and the soldiers. Many wondered if this was the end of their journey. Fear filled the hearts of the people. Parents held their children tightly while others began to cry out in panic. Some questioned why they had ever left Egypt. They could see no way forward and no path to safety. Yet Moses remained calm, knowing that God had not brought them this far to abandon them. While the people feared, Moses turned his eyes toward heaven. He trusted the Lord with all his heart. Standing before the sea, he waited quietly for God's direction. Even when everyone else saw only an impossible situation, Moses believed that the Lord would provide a way. The Israelites stood silently beside the Red Sea. Behind them, Pharaoh's powerful army was almost upon them. Before them stretched the endless waters. Everything seemed impossible. But this was the very moment when God was about to perform one of the greatest miracles ever recorded in the Bible. The people cried out in fear as Pharaoh's army drew closer. Their hearts were filled with panic, and many began to lose hope. Mothers held their children tightly while fathers looked helplessly across the sea. The sound of galloping horses echoed through the air, and it seemed there was nowhere to run. Some of the Israelites turned to Moses and said, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us into the wilderness to die? It would have been better for us to remain slaves than to perish here." Fear had blinded them, and they could not yet see the miracle God was about to. Moses stood before the people with unwavering faith. Though danger surrounded them, he did not panic. Holding his shepherd's staff firmly, he looked across the frightened crowd with confidence, knowing that the Lord had never failed his promises. Then Moses spoke with courage and authority. "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." His words brought hope to the hearts of God's people. Slowly, the fear began to fade. The people looked toward Moses with renewed faith. Parents comforted their children, and the cries of panic became quiet whispers of hope. They realized that if God had brought them out of Egypt, he would not abandon them now. Then the Lord spoke to Moses. God instructed him to stop looking back in fear and prepare the people to move forward in faith. The Lord was about to make a way where no way existed. Moses listened carefully and prepared to obey every command. Without hesitation, Moses walked to the edge of the Red Sea. He lifted his shepherd's staff high above the water, just as the Lord had commanded. Every eye was fixed upon him. The people waited in complete silence, wondering what would happen next. At that very moment, the pillar of cloud moved from the front of Israel and settled behind them, standing between God's people and Pharaoh's army. Darkness covered the Egyptians, while light remained with the Israelites. Throughout the night, the enemy could not reach them because the Lord himself was protecting his people. The Egyptian soldiers waited in confusion. Their horses became restless, and their commanders could not understand why they could no longer advance. Pharaoh grew impatient, but the mighty pillar of cloud blocked every attempt to reach the Israelites. God had placed himself between his people and their enemies. As Moses continued to hold out his staff, the Lord sent a powerful east wind that blew across the sea throughout the entire night. The wind grew stronger and stronger. Waves crashed against one another, and the surface of the sea began to change before the eyes of the people. The waters slowly began to separate. The impossible was becoming reality. The sea divided, as walls of water rose higher and higher on both sides. Every Israelite watched in complete amazement as God's mighty power was displayed before them. The towering walls of water stood like great crystal walls reaching toward the sky. Fish swam within the clear waters while the strong wind continued to hold the sea apart. The miracle was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Every heart was filled with awe at the greatness of God. As the waters stood firm, the seabed beneath them became completely dry. Where waves had once covered the ground, there was now a safe pathway stretching across the middle of the sea. God had prepared a road where none had existed before. Moses took the very first step onto the dry seabed. Behind him came Aaron, Miriam, and the entire nation of Israel. Families walked together in faith, while shepherds carefully guided their flocks. Every step reminded them that God was leading them safely through the impossible. Surrounded by towering walls of water on both sides, the Israelites continued their journey across the sea on the dry ground. The pillar of fire illuminated the night behind them, while the Lord faithfully protected his people. The God who created the sea had opened a path through it, proving that nothing is impossible for him.